Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wes here with the Great East Space. Today we're wrapping up our best MLS Fantasy Defenders, Part 3. Part 1, we covered numbers 1 through 10. Part 2, 11 through 20. Today we're kicking it off, number 21. We got Bresson. He's had a really good year last year. Has a little bit of upside to his game. So I think he's a really, really good option. If you're looking for a defender, and these are probably going to be guys who fit in more of a budget category, whether that's on SoRare, whether you're playing Draftkings, something like that. But I think he's got some upside, so it's someone you can keep an eye on. Number 22, we got Henry Kessler. Last year was a rookie, played for New England Revolution, came in, was kind of forced into action right away, which, isn't necessarily common for rookie center backs. But he held his own. He did a really good job. And I think he definitely has kind of the grip on it going into this year. It'll be interesting to see if he can take a step forward. My expectation is that he does. I think he's a really strong option and a really good option as a young center back for what is expected to be a really good New England Revolution team. A couple things to consider as I'm running through this list. This is just a starting point. Take these names and then go do your own research. I think I did a lot of good data analysis here that can help you and point you in the right direction. But before you make any kind of investment or anything, if you're playing Draftkings or you're playing SoRare, make sure that you're really doing your own research and comfortable with any decision you make before investing in it. Another thing to consider is all platforms score differently. I'm coming at this from a very SoRare focused approach. That's the scoring matrix that I'm used to and that I used when ranking these players. So it could be a little bit different depending on the type of game or the type of platform you're playing on. If you aren't familiar with SoRare, I've got another video on my channel where I kind of did a deep dive on what it is and why I think it's the best platform for fantasy soccer. So check that out. There's also a link below. It's an affiliate link, so it will help me out if you use it, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So if you do want to check it out and you haven't done that so far, feel free to give that link a click. And this player ranking has nothing to do with value. So I'm not looking at any kind of pricing on a salary cap type DraftKings method. Or pricing for a SoRare card. This is strictly just point potential. And if you have seen parts 1 and 2, this is part 3, so I'm wrapping it up. If I get to the end of this and you've seen the other 2 videos, and there's someone that you think I missed, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear about it. All right, number 23, we got Nuhu Tolo, plays for Seattle Sounders, is a really, really good athletic back. He played on the wing last year. He was more of a fullback, but the kind of talk out of the Seattle camp is this year they might move to a 3-back system. Where he would be kind of the left center back. So that'll be interesting, kind of put him in a new role. He can be a bit erratic at times, kind of make some crazy decisions. So if he, moves to a 3-back system, there'll be a lot more responsibility on him, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. Still a really young defender, and I think, really, really high upside. So definitely a good option if you're kind of swinging for the fences. All right, 24th, we got Daniel Lovitz. Go Nashville. He's a fullback for Nashville SC. Finished the year really strong. If you look at the far right side of this graph, that was kind of as Nashville started to open up play a little bit more, get a little bit more attacking, as opposed to just kind of packing it in. The kind of talk in Nashville is that they want to do that more this year. So if that's, carries forward, we could see a really strong year for Daniel Lovitz. So I think there's some good upside with him. Michael Boxall. So Michael was defender for Minnesota United. Minnesota United had Ike Opara, who is one of the best center backs in the MLS, maybe ever. But he was out last year, and then this year it looks like he'll probably be out again. They just released some news, so it's concussion issues, repeated concussion issues. So it's not looking promising that he'll come back. So that might mean that Boxall keeps his spot, or it might mean that Minnesota United is out looking for a potential long-term replacement for Ike Opara, which could mean trouble for Boxall. He might have some competition coming in. Something just keep in the back of your mind with him, but if he does keep the spot, as you can see, very consistent, very good option. Number 26, we got Kai Wagner, plays for Philadelphia. They brought him over when he was young from Europe, kind of developed him a little bit in their system. Philadelphia has a really strong, what they call a homegrown system, but they're essentially just means they're good at developing young players. And I think they've done that with Kai. I think, he was good when he came over. They've maybe taken him up a little bit more. Potential that he goes back to Europe at some point, but I think he's a really good option with some high upside. So Kai Wagner comes in at 26. Number 27, we have Aaron Herrera. So young U.S. national, played for our U23 team in the recent tournament that they were, the Olympic qualifying that they were in. A lot of upside. He's kind of all over the place though. So I would just, be careful with him. He also plays for Real Salt Lake. not a good team. They're going to struggle this year. They've had some organizational issues that are probably going to, cast a shadow on the whole season. It's kind of the expectation. So maybe they overperform, or maybe he's good enough that he performs well in spite of his team maybe not being so great. But that's why I have him a little bit farther down my list here. You can also see kind of on the far right, he had a cluster of games where performed really poorly. And I think that's just kind of a risk with him, and something that I probably am going to try and stay away from. But, if the price is right, I think he's a really good young player with a lot of potential ahead of him. All right, Nick Lima. So he's been in San Jose, but he's now in Austin. Austin, Texas has a new team, Austin FC, and they are shaping up to actually, have a pretty good roster for their first season in the MLS. Nick Lima, I think, is a really good defender. Maybe didn't have the full trust of his coach in San Jose, but coming to Austin, it's a clean slate, and he's probably one of the best defenders that they have. Plays a fullback position out on the wing, so we'll get involved in the attack some, and I think I'm pretty excited about him. I have one of his SoRare cards, so interested to kind of hold on to that. Probably won't start in week one, maybe see kind of how he gets integrated into the team and how they do as a team, but I think there's a lot of upside with him going into this year. 29, Chase Gasper. So plays for Minnesota. He's kind of like right on the cusp, I think, of taking that step forward. And if he does that, I think, big things ahead for him. As you can see, his scores, he's got a lot of really good scores. And I think, expect good things from him this year. I think he's a really good option. All right, number 30, Andrew Farrell. He's kind of been, so earlier I mentioned Henry Kessler, right? The rookie New England Rev center back. Andrew Farrell is his partner in crime. He's also the center back for New England. Plays beside Henry. Not as much upside, I don't think, as Kessler has, just kind of due to his age. They're maybe at kind of different points of their career. Farrell's probably peaked, maybe at his peak. And I think he's a really solid option, but I just don't necessarily think he's going to outperform how he's been performing the past several years. So good option here, though, and I think, depending on what kind of game mode you're playing, as I kind of described earlier, could be a good budget option for you. All right, Robin Jansen plays for Orlando. I think he's a really good center back. Orlando, so part of this expansion, right, as Austin came in, Orlando actually left one of their young players available to be kind of taken by Austin, and he was. His name is Kamal Miller, who later got routed up to Montreal. But I think it says a lot about Robin Jansen. His spot's really safe. The fact that they would let Kamal Miller go means that they have a lot of faith in the rest of their defenders. So Robin Jansen made my list here. I think he's got a little bit of attacking potential too. So he may, squeak in a goal every once in a while, which is kind of a nice upside to have with one of your defenders. Number 32, we got Florian Jungworth, plays for San Jose. They've got a bit of a leaky defense. They give up some goals every now and then, kind of in bunches maybe. So, I kind of would be scared off of him. But, there's some potential there for some big weeks. So, again, if you're swinging for the fences, potential option here for Florian Jungworth. Number 33, we got David Romney, center back for Nashville SC. I think his numbers probably got boosted a little bit. He's kind of, bounced around, not been a full-time starter. Last year he was for Nashville, and he had a really good season. So I don't say anything to take away from him. I just think he was playing next to Walker Zimmerman, who is the best defender in the MLS, in my opinion, as you saw in episode 1 of this series. So, I think he just got helped out by that. And to be fair, he'll probably have that same kind of benefit this year. The question with him, though, is does Jack Maurer, Nashville's number 2 pick in the MLS draft last year, does he come in and start to push for that spot? And I think it's too early to say if that'll happen or not, but I think that's a risk. And I also just don't think there's a lot of upside here. I think he's a very consistent kind of a high floor play, which is not bad, right? Depending on the game you're playing and kind of your strategy, having a high floor guy could be exactly what you're looking for. And if that's the case, I think David Romney is a good pick. All right, number 34, we got Vito Wormgore. Awesome name. Definitely would be my first pick if we were drafting Game of Thrones characters. This guy just looks awesome. Looks like a Viking. That little ponytail with the shaved side heads. Anyways, really cool. Got injured, though, right when he came over. So he plays for Columbus. He was brought in to be beside Jonathan Mensah as a center back. But he got injured, I believe it was the first game he played, which is a real downer for him as well as for Columbus. But he's healthy now. The question is, does Columbus make the move to him? Obviously, they won the MLS Cup last year, so they may not want to rock the boat, right? If you got a good thing going, don't change it. But kind of, it sounds like he has the lead to win that second center back spot. And if he does, they brought him in for a reason, using an international slot on him, which is, pretty valuable for MLS teams. So I think they'll be motivated to get him on the field. I think they think he is a high caliber player. And if he fits into that system well, that's a really good team with a really good defense. So he could produce some good numbers for you. He's just a little bit of kind of a wild card, right? You don't know what you're going to get. So risk reward maybe. Anyways, I think he's a really good option. And that does it for our MLS Defender series. I appreciate you all watching. If it brought you value, hit the like button. Give me a subscribe if you want to see more great content like this. Got a lot more content coming, both in MLS preseason, getting ready for the season, and then throughout the season I'll keep it going, as well as some global fantasy, talking a lot about SoRare specifically. And if there's anything else you want to see specifically, let me know down in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas for different types of content I can create that you guys would like. So feel free to let me know, and I will do my best to start working on that and get it out there for you guys. So really appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me a like. Talk to you guys soon, all right?